Hey guys, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss The Greatest Showman. There's many things to talk about with this movie. Watching it, the movie itself, other things. So let's just dive right in. We'll have conversations, all right, afterwards. So when they first announced that The Greatest Showman was actually going to be a thing and that Zac Efron was attached to it, I want to say they announced this in 2016 because the movie came out in 2017. My first thoughts were, wait, Zac Efron? My Zachary David Alexander Efron, born to David and Starla on October 18th, 1987, older brother to Dylan Efron. My Zac Efron is doing another movie musical after he swore in 2009 that he was never doing any movie musical ever again. That was my first reaction. And then it was like, yeah, my Zac Efron. Zac Efron is doing another movie musical. The last time he did a movie musical was back in 2008's High School Musical 3. I was like, this is just, 9 years later, and here we are. I'm just so happy. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I didn't care who the hell else was in this movie. All I needed to know was that Zac Efron was going to be singing and dancing again, doing exactly what he does best, and what everyone loves him for. Everyone loves him, obviously, for his looks and his aesthetics and the eyes and the smolder and, you know, all that jazz. But Zac's awesome. And I know he's gone through some stuff. You know, he had a substance abuse problem. He had an alcohol problem. And he checked himself into rehab back in 2013. After an awful accident he had in his home, which resulted in him having to have his jaw wired shut for quite some time. And then so many people messaged me during 2013, making sure that I was emotionally all right, because I'm so frail and unstable of an individual that when any, actor that I'm a big fan of is in an accident or has a medical thing or whatever, that I am apparently a blubbering idiot of emotional distress. So, thank you to those of you who reached out, 5 years ago to make sure I was all right, because it was a rough time. That was also the year Paul Walker died, and that was another thing in itself. It's an awful time period. Anyway, I'm going off track. After Zac Efron was cast, Hugh Jackman was cast, and then I want to say Michelle Williams was right after that, and then some other people, and then I think Zendaya was like one of the last people to sign up. Honestly, those are the only 4 actors by name that I know, and I should know the rest of the cast by now because I am obsessed with the movie, but I apologize. It happens. So, after hearing, again, my Zac Efron was being in another movie musical, that's all I needed, right? I didn't know what the plot was about until I actually read it, and it was supposed to be based off P.T. Barnum's life and how he created the circus and show business and all this other stuff. And I know my history, right? I'm good with history. Damn good with history. And I'm thinking to myself while reading this article about the plot summary, and I was like, P.T. Barnum was a douchebag. A douchebag. The douchiest douchebag that has ever douched. Awful human. Filthy, disgusting rich because of all of the scams, but awful human being. Right? Okay. So I was like, how the hell are they going to make a family-friendly movie based off of this asinine, repugnant, I can't even form a word. That's how disgusted I am with this individual's life. How are they going to make a movie that's family-friendly based off of his life? And they actually did. This movie is loosely based. Now, when I say loosely based, I'm talking like, like how people hate The Walking Dead now because of how awful the writing has become compared to the first 5 seasons when the writing was great and it was like kind of like the comics but not really like the comics, but then like it was pitched as based off of, not loosely adapted of. That's what the show is now. We can go into that at a TV review segment. That makes sense. But that's my point. It's this movie was loosely adapted from P.T. Barnum's life. How he started, the creation of a family, the creation of show business, making money off of lies, etc., etc. Yeah. I had 2 problems with the movie, and then we're going to discuss how awesome it is, okay? The movie takes place in Victorian era, right? Why the hell are there children prancing around a Victorian mansion that's clearly been abandoned for decades? Ivy growing up the walls, trees growing out of the floors. Like, no, that doesn't match up. Like, that was a Victorian era architecture of this mansion. The vines that had needed to grow, 20, 30 years. It's not a thing. I also studied architecture back in the day, so that's not a thing. I'm nitpicking here, right? I'm nitpicking. What else was just annoying? The P.T. Barnum's history is just not what the movie was, and that's what I fear that all these kids who are now obsessed with this movie, and adults, is that they're going to be like, oh my god, he was such a great guy, why ever did they shut the circus down? They're shutting the circuses down because of the animal abuse that's been going on constantly for centuries, and I'm very actually happy that they didn't use real lions and real elephants throughout this movie, minus that one particular elephant, but like, I'm pretty sure she was a retired Ringling brother and Barnum and Bailey elephant. So, like, I don't know, it's still weird. And, like, people were very against watching this movie because, like, you're supporting the animal cruelty industry, but you're, like, not, though, because it's a celebration of inclusiveness, and I got it. All right, I got it. The critic was talking about it, and he's like, yo, like, this... All right, he didn't say, yo, back in the 1800s, but let's paraphrase here, right? He was like, yo, I hate you to P.T. Barnum, but like I get what you did, and it was, if I was a different person and this was a different time, I would say how inclusive and beautiful it is to see all these different people from all these different parts of life and all these different races, religions, ethnicities, genders come together with whatever they need to do and express themselves, and they're all one, and it's a sense of community and power, and we're all the same. And okay, great, yes, that was a beautiful message, and I'm glad they actually verbally stated it. The thing that is remarkable about this film, and it disgusts me that I don't remember the director's name, and I'm so sorry, because he deserves every accolade that he could possibly get, because this movie was fantastic. Cinematography was fantastic. And why I say this is I had qualms with A Wrinkle in Time, and we'll talk about that at a later time. I had issues, let me tell you. So a kid had met a kid my age, had messaged me Facebook a little while ago asking why I hated Wrinkle in Time so much, and I used Greatest Showman as an example for the contrary. And I was like, I was trying to explain the difference between a blockbuster film and an indie film, right? And like I said, we'll talk about this at another time, but in summary, A Wrinkle in Time was filmed as an indie film, but it was supposed to be a blockbuster film. Greatest Showman was filmed as a blockbuster film, and it was a blockbuster film. Again, we'll talk about details on that at a different time, but right now we'll focus on this one particular DMing exchange. So the kid still didn't understand, and I was like, okay, I'll explain cinematography. All right, this is how it works. I don't know, I used the Greatest Showman's scene, Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron, singing and dancing in the bar with the bartender. The song was called Other Side. Number 5 on the track listing for those of you who have the soundtrack. And you're like, oh my god, I need to listen to that song again. It's amazing. It is amazing. Whoever wrote it, genius. Absolutely genius. Perfect song. And I love the behind the scenes video of Zac Efron dancing and making noises. And he's like, oh! And when he's like hearing it for the first time, because it's like an epic song, it's awesome. And then the dance number that was choreographed, and the actors, how they work with each other. All three of them. Zac to bartender to Hugh and back. Amazing. Specifically how the camera does this pan in thing on certain elements of like, let's look at the shot glasses, but then let's pull back out. And let's look at the humans interact. But then let's like scoop that way and like look at the bartender and like scoop back, but then like flash to a scene of piano and Hugh's playing the piano, but then he's not playing the piano, but the piano keys are actually still going. And Zac does this thing with his handkerchief, and like it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. If you need to want to know how film is supposed to be, just simple YouTube. Or watch the movie, buy the movie. But you could simple YouTube. Greatest Showman, Other Side scene. Glorious. Magnificent. And especially when in the song there's like a pitter-patter sound. And Zac literally goes on the bar to the song. And every time there's a shot glass, there's it's brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And the ending of that number, it says the camera goes from one set in the bar and it swooshes over. I love that word, swoosh. Swooshes over to backstage of the theater, and it's obvious that it's filmed on a set, right? And they have set next to set, and it's just so freaking cool, man. It's so awesome. Bro, seriously, it's awesome. It's awesome. Now, I need to go over why I'm actually terrified to watch it again. So I saw The Greatest Showman on February 11th. It was a Sunday, 2018. On February 10th, I had gotten my new movie pass in the mail. I was so excited. I activated it. I can now use it at different theaters. Awesome. I was going to say, yeah, Greatest Showman, if it's still in theaters, because remember, this came out like Christmas 2017, and I was like, it's been 2 months. Let's see if it's still in theaters. And it was still in theaters, and I was so excited. So it's a rainy Sunday afternoon. It's very melancholy out, and it was cloudy and gross and whatever. It was cold. It was raining. So I guess the parking lot. I check in with my movie pass. I'm staring around because I'm just ruminating, remembering all the details about, again, why I'm nervous to watch this again. And I'm scrolling through Instagram as I always do because I'm always on social media, and I come to this one little thing, and it's my friend Phil's sister posted this picture about him when he was a kid, and it was this in memoriam thing, and I hadn't seen Phil in a little bit, but like we would still talk and catch up and back and forth and stuff, and it was this in memoriam, and I was like, wait a minute, he's my age, what? No, I didn't want to investigate further. I tried to investigate further at that moment, but I didn't want to get too investigated into it because I knew I really wanted to watch this movie because of my Zac Efron, right? And I was like, all right, we'll just put this on pause. I'll watch the movie. There's got to be more details later because the post was just posted. I was like, I'll reach out to everyone. I'll see what happened. So I watched the movie. It's still in the back of my head. And like I said, the movie was great. I had my little nitpicks, whatever. I actually applauded. Don't really do that much in the theaters. Got back out. Still raining, still cold, still foggy, still disgusting out, still, yeah. So I get in my car. I go back on Instagram. I go on Facebook. I go on Twitter. I'm scrolling everywhere. And then his entire family is talking about stuff. And I reach out to everyone. And there wasn't really that many details, but he had passed away the night before, on the 10th. And I just lost it. I broke down. I was just sobbing uncontrollably. I couldn't breathe. It was bad. It was that someone's like right on top of your chest, and like it was bad. It was bad. I couldn't. Time just stopped until I collected myself. So I called my mom and I told her that he had passed, and she was like, do you need me to get you? And I was like, no, I need to get myself home. We can talk about it then. So I collected myself. I drove home. I walk in the door, and there's my parents. Now, my parents were at the hospital visiting my mom's mom because she's been sick for quite some time, and she was, not looking too well the last time we had seen her. So I walk in, and I look at her, and she looks at me, and I know exactly what she's going to say. And she's like, your grandmother passed away this afternoon. And I was like, of course she did. Of course she did. So, tears all around, hugging all around. I ate a bag of Skittles. That was my sole food source for the entire day, which they were vegan, right? And I was like, with her, it was expected because we were preparing ourselves, right? And like, it was eventually going to happen, and it sucks that it happened, but it did happen. But like, with my friend who's my age, it was not expected. It came out of nowhere, and I don't know what the rest of the week's going to now look like. So my Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2018, involved me at my grandmother's funeral that morning, and then my friend's wake that night. All the while, I'm blasting Greatest Showman because I got the soundtrack 2 days after I saw it. So I got the soundtrack on Tuesday, the 13th, right? Yes. Because if the funerals and wakes are on the 14th on Valentine's Day, and I saw it Sunday the 11th when my grandmother passed, and Phil passed on the 10th. So there's your timeline, right? And then the 16th is my mom's birthday. That Friday was also Chinese New Year, so we went to the city to go, to Chinatown and see everything, and it was great. But, like, during that week of hell, I was blasting Greatest Showman. And obviously a lot of kids, a lot of adults who are questioning life in general have assimilated to This Is Me, the song that's broken records, right? It's a great, beautiful, I can't remember the lyrics right now, and I'm sorry, powerhouse song, an encouraging song of being true to yourself, right? But I love Other Side more. And I think I love it more, A, because it's a better song, let's be honest, right? Music is better. The beat is better, it's more fun, it's more energetic. But the entire week, that entire hell week of friend and relative funeral wakey stuff, I kept thinking about life, obviously, as one does. What happens when we die, etc., etc. And now, the Greeks would call it the mist, Egyptians call it the duat, we call it the veil. The fourth dimension is the fourth dimension. If the theory of energy is neither created nor destroyed, where does it go? Right? So I'm assimilating the other side as literally the other side. We cross it over that veil. We cross into the duat. We cross into the mist. We cross the mist. Cross the veil. We go to the other side. And then what? People will say, oh, you go to heaven, or people will say, oh, nothing exists, you just evaporate, or people will say, oh, it's whatever you make it to be. And this is what I was thinking that entire week, the other side. Do you need the key? Are you in a cage to get the key to unlock the cage to go to the other side? Do you want to join to go to the other side? Yes, the song was about jumping from one class to another, from lower class to middle class, etc., etc., bouncing around, going from snooty plays to, circus performing and such. I'm nervous to watch the movie because my grandmother passed in the middle of the movie when I was watching it. And I know it's because of the timelines, the time that the movie started versus the time my mother told me that my grandmother passed versus my friend passing the night before. I know I can listen to the soundtrack a billion times. I just don't know if I can watch the movie again calmly. Because it's going to be rough. But I think I can do it because Zac Efron's in it. I'm cheesy. I'm well aware. I'm a big Zac Efron fan. Zac Efron could literally punch me in the face, and I would say, Zac, thank you. Zac Efron could cut off a piece of my ear, and I would thank him. He could literally sit on my chest, or just stomp on my chest, break all my ribs, and through me gasping of air and coughing up blood, I would still say, thank you. I can't wait till he's a dad. He's gonna be a good dad. I already know it. So, yes. Long review, long conversation. A lot happened with this movie that needed to be discussed. I'm giving Greatest Showman a solid 8 out of 10. I knocked 2 bolts out, specifically because of the historical inaccuracies, and it drove me that just nuts. And yeah, it wasn't an accurate representation of P.T. Barnum's life, but 8 out of 10, absolutely beautiful film. Cinematography is perfect, just beautiful. So, Greatest Showman. Great movie. Mucho mahalo.